Yes, hi there, and these comments are for James, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And I do remember you, James, and I'm going to take a look at your email right now that you sent me. Actually, you made a comment at my website, and thank you for that. You said, "Hi, Michael, my name is James. I once subscribed to your TOEFL service a few years ago when I was in high school." And I remember that. I think I got a message from your dad, and I corresponded with you a little bit. You said, "Now I'm a student at Seoul National University in South Korea, majoring in English education, and recently I took the TOEFL and received a score of 118. Wow. Good job, James. You got 30 points in the reading, 30 points in the listening, 29 points in the speaking, and 29 points in the writing. I'm not sure if you can remember me, but I deeply appreciate your commitment and devotion to improving students' TOEFL scores, which greatly helped me improve mine as well. I was wondering if I can share some of my tips on scoring more than 110 on the TOEFL on your website, so please let me know if I can. Thank you." Yes, you can do that. No joke. Now, what I'd like to do if you want, you can just give some general tips, but to help you with the interview, if you want to do a video or audio, whatever you like to do, I do have some questions I'd like to ask you, and I think if you can answer these questions, it'll be very, very useful for a lot of international students out there who are preparing for the TOEFL. So are you ready? And you can answer these questions by writing, or you can answer them by video or by audio, whatever is more comfortable for you. Now, your writing, what you just wrote here, this very simple message is incredibly well written, by the way. Okay, I'd like to base my interview, James, in two parts. First, I want to look at the kind of background you had, I think, before you took the TOEFL exam, just so that people can understand what you did and the kind of exposure you got. And then I'd like to look at some things you did right before you took the TOEFL exam, and then what you did during the TOEFL test itself. So actually, my interview will be focused in three specific areas. My first question, I think, which is important, is why are you so motivated to learn English and to get such a high TOEFL score? Because without the motivation, it's difficult to achieve such a high score as you've achieved. My second question is pretty simple. What kind of exposure have you had with English, and for how long? So I'm trying to see here, James, if you fit or don't fit the normal mold for TOEFLers who score over 110. So have you been, for example, reading books for several years? Have you been speaking English at your home with your family? Did you do this for several years, or more than 8 or 9 or even 10 years? So exactly what have you been doing in terms of getting exposure to English, and how long have you had this exposure? The next few questions, James, are going to deal with what you did personally 6 months, 1 year to 6 months before getting your 118. So here, okay, let's take a look. So in addition to understanding about your background, let's take a look at these questions. So question 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And 9 have to do with some things that you did, for example, to improve. Let's just look at the question. So what should students do 6 months to 1 year before taking the exam to improve their vocabulary? What can they do to improve their pronunciation? What can students do to improve their grammar? And what can students do to improve their reading? And what should students do to improve their listening? And what should students do to improve their speaking? And finally, their writing proficiencies. So if you do the video, you can ask the question first. You can say, okay, what should students do to improve their listening? You can say that and then give your comments. Then you can move to the next question. Say, okay, what should students do to improve their speaking? Then you can answer that, and on and on and on. All right? Now, if you do the video, I will also interact with the different parts of your video. I'll actually make some comments and things as you're making your comments. The next series of questions focus around a few weeks before the exam. So this is what I want to focus on right now. So question 10, how should students prepare for the reading section of the exam? So 2 or 3 weeks before they take the TOEFL test, what type of reading practice should they do? What type of listening practice should they do? What type of speaking practice do you think these students should have? And how should these students prepare for the writing section of the exam? Let's talk about during the TOEFL exam itself, and that will finish off the questions for the interview. Question number 11, 12, 13, 14. What types of test-taking strategies should students employ during the reading section of the exam, during the listening section of the exam, 13 during the speaking section of the exam, and question 14 during the writing section of the exam? Now, as you know, the different parts of the exam, even with reading, for example, there's different kinds of questions. We have rhetorical questions, we have vocabulary questions, main idea questions, we have detail questions, implied detail questions. We even have what's called charts or schematic tables. If you have any advice for any of those types of questions or anything that you think would be effective to help students get a higher reading score, you can answer all those things underneath this heading. Again, with the listening, sometimes listening like reading, there's 2-point questions. So anything that you think would be helpful for students. With questions 11, 12, 13, and 14, what role does note-taking play for you during the TOEFL exam itself? Do you feel it's important or not important to take notes? So any of those kinds of things you can talk about. Now, when you get to the speaking, remember, James, there are 6 kinds of speaking tasks. You have the independent and the integrated tasks. And with the integrated task, you have task number 3, which is reading, listening, speaking, casual. You have task number 4, which is reading, listening, speaking, academic. You have task number 5, which is listening, speaking, casual. You have task number 6, which is listening, speaking, academic. So if you have any specific strategies that you think are effective to help students answer those questions to get the highest score possible, this is what you want to talk about underneath that question. And then remember with question 14 here, during the writing, there's 2 tasks. You have the integrated writing task. You have the reading, listening, writing, academic. And then you have the task 2, which is the independent writing task. And your writing skills are incredible, by the way. So any advice that you want to do here? Now, how about this? Would you be comfortable doing this? Let me ask you this question. What if you sent me audio files? That would be, I could really package this into a really neat video. If you want to package it as audio files answering questions 1 through 16 or 1 through 14, and then you can just send them and say, Michael, here is my answer to question number 1, and then I know that it's this one. Or Michael, here is my response to question number 2 here. Or here's my response to question 3, 4, and all the way to 14, and I could easily package this into a video that way. Are you comfortable with that? That would be, and what I'll do is I'll also post these questions at my website so you can copy and paste them and use them any way you like. All right, Jose. So anyway, I mean not Jose, James. Thank you very much, James, for your email, and once again, congratulations to you on a incredibly high TOEFL score. I remember when you joined my online TOEFL course, you were very motivated, you worked very hard, and your writing skills were absolutely remarkable, and you did very well with your reading, your listening, your speaking, and writing practice. So again, thank you very much for your comments at my website, and again, thank you for willing to give your tips and advice to other students who are preparing for the TOEFL exam. And I'm comfortable saying that I think once we get this video packaged and put together, I think it will get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. I really do. All right, thank you, James.